And then what does that mean? How does that translate into a salary increase? So for salary increases, I mentioned in the slide before last, full-time permanent employees on any grade may spend a certain number of time on a step within their grade, and their pay can be increased to the next step based on this performance reward system. Okay. The increase criteria is sustained long-term performance. For short-term performance, as you know, what we're doing is rewarding bonuses based on your end of year performance rating. Performance track. The number of years to remain on a pay step is determined by an employee's performance track, whether it's normal, fast, or accelerated. And ultimately, there are 3 steps within each grade. Now, before I continue with this, it's important to note that for every role, a role has been placed on a grade based on the responsibilities that role carries. Okay, so if I am on an associate step 1 grade, then that's because the responsibilities of my role fall within the associate step 1 grade, right? So therefore, while I have those same responsibilities that fall within associate step 1, how can I still increase my pay? The way to do that is through sustained long-term performance. So assuming that you fall within a satisfactory performer, there are 3 pay steps within which you can grow. Step 1, step 2, and step 3. Now, most staff are on step 1 by default, and step 2 and 3 are there for growth. Right? An example here, let's look at Alex. So Alex is an associate step 1, and he's on normal track. So based on Alex's grade, it says that he should spend 2 years on a normal track before he can have a salary increase. And he's done that. And so his salary will be increased to step 2. Right? Jane, on the other hand, who's also an associate level 1, on step 1, but on a fast track because of her performance, can spend 1 year on that step before her salary is increased. Right? They're both smiling because they're both meeting their expectations. They're both growing in their roles, and they're both having a reward based on their performance. So they're both happy there, but one is moving faster in terms of salary increase than the other because her performance is of a higher level than the others. Right? I'm going to quickly open up the salary increase matrix. All right, great. So let's look at this matrix. Now you have associates. Let's look at Alex and Jane's example, right? They are, let's say they are associate level 1 and they're on the normal track. They've been sustaining their performance for 2 years as satisfactory performers. So after 2 years, they move to step 2. They do that again for another 2 years. After 2 years, they move to step 3. Now, once you reach step 3, there's nowhere else to move within that grade. For every grade, our salary bands range from steps 1 to 3. At that point, you're on the highest possible pay you can be for the responsibilities you hold. Now, that's not to say that, there's no growth. There's still an opportunity for growth, but that growth has to come from one of 2 ways, which I'll talk about in my last slide, right? But in terms of salary increases, once you get to step 3, that's where it will end, and that's where it stops, because there's no possible way, anywhere to go other than into the next grade, which holds different sets of responsibilities, right? If you are on a fast track now, for example, you can see how the same grade, you spend lesser time on the step before you can move to the next step in terms of your salary. And that's because your performance is deemed as fast based on your end results for the year. And the same thing applies. You can move from step 1 to step 2 in a year, from step 2 to step 3 in a year. And then you can remain on step 3 until your responsibilities change or grow, right? In which case, if it falls into the responsibility for the next grade, then that's when you go onto the responsibility band or the grade and the pay associated with those responsibilities for the next grade. Next up, accelerated. So you can see, again, for those who are on accelerated, the time that you would spend on each step differs.